there's the jump. All right, you guys ready? Episode 1, June 18th. Episode 2, June 25th.
Almost.
Episode 3, July 2nd. Episode 4, January 14th, 2021.
We really took a just hiatus.
We did.
Really disappointed our zero viewers.
It was just us four, and now we have Athena and sometimes Chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys ready?
I think it's been more than 30 seconds.
It's been 30 seconds over 30 seconds. I meant
So,
seconds.
yeah.
Are you guys ready?
That's, sure.
Welcome back to episode 7 of the Resolve tier list. We're actually going to end up making this longer because we're going to discuss Demon Slayer soon, and we haven't seen the movie yet, but it comes out next week. So we're adding a little bit of a delay. I know you love that. I do too, honestly. It's food for my soul.
Major spoiler warnings for next week then.
Well, oh yeah.
For people who haven't watched that movie, we will have to be very clear.
Yeah, I'll probably actually put in a warning in that one as well. So
idea.
yeah, welcome back to the Resolve. I'm glad you're with us, and that you
We're
have
here again.
the resolve
Again.
to stay here.
Against Ledge's wishes, I'm going to specify that this is Furious Resolve list.
Okay, so this actually would have been Resolve 7 or List 7, and because Steel didn't get it right, I'm not gonna edit it in. There's consequences.
Furious.
Furious Resolve.
He's so angry. I wish you guys could see his
Furious
face.
list.
Punch his computer.
Episode 7, Furious Leadge.
Haunted laugh returns.
I broke Steel.
I'm crying.
Okay. No, but this is going to be a bit of a shorter episode. We're just going to go along two characters actually on this one. One there's going to be more input on, and one a bit less in general. So it might not be 30 minutes to an hour like they have
Which
been.
one do you think is which?
And depending on how many
Killer will
references
take longer.
Steel
Really?
makes to the Fast and the Furious series, she may not make it through the episode.
I should make it pretty fast. Don't worry.
I'll go fast. Ledge will be furious.
All right. First up then.
But
Okay, first up, we have Zuko, of
Who's that?
unknown last name from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Zuko.
what's the
Zuko.
Fire
Oh,
Lord's name?
Oh, Zuko.
What's the Fire Lord's name?
Ozai.
There's no last name.
There's gotta be. a
Zuko,
last
son
name.
of
This is
Ozai.
just
Son of
they're a
Ozai.
royal
Oh,
family,
Ozai
so
son.
instead of a last name, they have a
Zuko
title.
Ozai son.
So it's Crown
Wait,
Prince
wha-
Zuko of the Fire Nation.
Azulon, right? Zuko,
No,
son of
that's-
Ozai, son of
Fire
Azulon.
Lord Azulon. Azulon
Yeah.
is what she was named after. That's not his last name.
No, but that was the grandfather.
That
so it
was
is
his
right.
last name.
But he
No,
doesn't
no,
have a
no.
last name.
That's not what I was saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm really glad. A lot of input toward Resolve with
Wait,
that.
does anyone have a last name in that show?
We've
No one
definitely
has a
discussed
last name.
quite a bit about Zuko. Now that you know
Of the water
everything,
tribe?
could you shut the hell up?
No one has a last name in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's just of the where they're from. Zuko of the Fire Nation.
I
Sokka
thought it
of the
was
No,
Water
different
Tribe.
look.
because he was royalty, but it's actually
Aang
everyone.
has a full last name. 4
Oh, he does?
words. The Last Airbender. Avatar. The Last Airbender. That's his last
We
name.
Is
combined
Airbender
like
2 words
a
or is it
seven.
1?
1.
It's one.
So 3 words.
Just waterbender is one word, firebender is one word.
So you guys say
Waterbender.
Waterbender.
Two.
There's a pattern here.
Bender is 2.
So, like we've discussed, obviously that means A tier.
No, actually,
I was thinking
where
C
she
tier.
has it was
yeah.
my very initial thought, and
I
there's
have
good reason
thoughts.
for it.
Go ahead though.
Okay, did that sound like you were contesting me when you're the one that placed it there?
No, I just put him in the middle of the list to begin with.
Okay, my
That's
thought
not my initial
is
thought.
B. Reason being, I hope we can all agree he has more resolve than Aang. Just
Yes.
because of, yeah, I mean, Aang has a lot of great things. It's a great
Resolve
character,
is
but, like,
not
his
Aang's strong suit.
worst
That's not
thing
what
is
they.
Resolve.
That's not what they focus on
Everything
throughout
else
the
is great,
series.
and this isn't an insult to Aang. but
He runs away like 6 times.
Like
So,
seriously.
My question I would debate then is what is his Resolve for?
Okay,
Uh,
so
his
there's
drive.
there's
Are we gonna
What-
discuss
two-
drive scenario?
no. All right,
It's-
so
It's a little wishy-washy there.
we'll get to the 2
It's
sections.
not though.
He has
Yeah.
two
I'll
forms
explain this.
or two
Go ahead.
great arcs of resolve. The first is the resolve to prove himself to his father and find the Avatar. Now we know part of this is maybe because he's, hurt inside, whatever, and he wants to get away, but he wants to prove himself and regain his honor. Typically, any person who is hurt that badly by his father would not care about them. They would either run away, attack them, or they wouldn't listen to what they're doing. They wouldn't try to prove themselves to him. So he wants to prove himself and to be seen, basically, by his father so badly that he spends his time after that injury immediately, because we see, the videos where he's got the iPad, a bandage over the wound when he goes to the Western Air Temple, I think, with Iroh in that flashback. So immediately, and he did it for years, if I'm not wrong. So there's that whole arc, and then there's the arc of resolve going against your own nation, your own family, your own father, your own sister. Even though he had less of a connection with his sister, but still. Oh, and against his own, sort of against his own girlfriend.
That's true. I have, like I said, I have some thoughts on this, so I definitely want to contribute those. I guess a mild trigger warning for anyone watching who doesn't like the discussions of child abuse, because that plays into Zuko's character. So,
Killua was coming up, so I'm sure we'll have plenty of that this
oh Lord, that's so much worse. Okay, but we're not talking about Killua yet. We're talking about Zuko here. So Zuko comes from an abusive situation, and the most obvious example of that is when his father burned him, the side of his face, so badly that he will carry a lifelong scar. And so badly that actually the only reason his eye is intact is because of probably plot armor of some kind, honestly. And he didn't do that for any reason other than to, quote unquote, teach him a lesson. And this happened after Zuko stood up for some fresh recruits in the Fire Nation army who he believed should not have been sacrificed as just bait for another army. And it ties into my other point. Now, to me, the way I rank resolve at least partially has to do with the morality of said resolve. I know that can't be the primary factor, but it does factor in for me. And Zuko naturally has a really good moral compass. He has been influenced for so long and so consistently by his family and by the traditions of his homeland and the expectations placed upon him that he did become convinced that the only way he could regain his honor was to do what his father said and hunt down the Avatar. And that was a literally impossible task. Everyone around Zuko, when Fire Lord Ozai gave him that task, literally looked at him with pity, because what they hear is someone giving him an impossible task, something that will never be accomplished. It's basically tantamount to him saying, yeah, you can never come home. And instead, Zuko said, well, I don't care if it's impossible. I'm going to accomplish it. And he immediately set out to do that with 100% of his being. Did not waver from that goal whatsoever for the longest time. And I know that Athena is probably going to bring this up because his motivation and his actions do change dramatically about 2/3 of the way through the series. So you could argue that that is a point against his resolve. I would argue a little differently, though. I would say that it was a result of him learning and growing because he was a child. He was 16 in the series, I believe. That's still pretty young to me, you know. So he took the experiences that he learned. He went around the world and he realized that the Fire Nation wasn't worshipped by other nations. Everyone hated and feared them. And so he slowly came to realize that, hey, maybe what we're doing actually isn't the correct course of action. And so he allowed his morals to dictate the decision and changed his actions.
What's
Stop
everybody
laughing on
laughing
mic.
at?
It's really sidetracking me.
Can I say
Anyway,
something about this real quick?
Yes.
yeah, you can.
Just continue thinking what you were thinking. But
Mute yourself,
you
Athena.
gotta look at character paths, and if you look at characters like Aang, Naruto, whatever, their path is so dead set. Like Aang is the Avatar. He needs to stop the Fire Nation, whatever. And it's so easy to see the correct path. With Zuko, you have your life has spawned you this weird against the grain, hard to like do path. It's like, wait, this is the right path, and it just feels so wrong to take the correct path because you're going against the Fire Nation. It's like, how are you supposed to naturally find that unless you found people like Aang, Katara, and their group to make you realize the right path?
Yeah.
But the right path is so much harder for someone when you're going against the grain, when you're going against your father, your Fire Nation. It's just everything that's been like ingrained into your head. It's just like flipped all of a sudden.
To me, him changing sides was actually in and of itself a massive feat of resolve, because he had to go against a lifetime of expectations and a lifetime of conditioning that made him believe what he was doing before, hunting down the Avatar, was the right thing to do.
Well, yeah. So like you were saying, at that point he knew what was right. Like he realized in his heart, I was gesturing to my head, but I meant heart, what was right, like what the right path was.
I'm glad you explained that for the audience.
Yeah, I know.
They would have been so confused.
That was confusing.
Look,
Wow.
the audience is in tune with me. They are me. I mean, one of them literally is me.
One of those you.
30% of the audience is you.
It's us, yeah.
So, but habit, training, time, experience,
Education.
everyone telling him except for, Iroh, telling him, what to do. This is the thing to do. His nation telling him this is the thing to do. His entire life, this is the thing to do. But he decided, like, no, this is what I gotta do. That's the level of his resolve. And also to face the people that he hounded for years, I think, or at least months, a long time, and be like, hey, want to team up against bad guys?
And I want
That's actually tough. Yeah.
I want to
was a
make
tough
a
moment.
really short point about.
So I made. Hang on. Let me talk. So I didn't bring up the point of what is his resolve for as an argument against his resolve. I just did want us to point out the differences, and then what you were pointing out exactly, which was his character development of realizing what his true purpose was, which took like a very a lengthy inner journey on his part, and a lot of commitment to changing his outwardly ideals into what he really wanted to do.
So before everyone else's life-changing trip with Zuko went on a life-changing trip with himself.
He did. Well, he also had to give up on his dreams of, becoming the crown prince again, basically, and regaining his honor. All of those things were really important to him. He had to give up on them for the sake of following his moral compass. But I did want to make one really quick point that Kyran kind of made me think of. So the level of propaganda in the Fire Nation, it's really hard for us to kind of understand how that would affect someone, because in modern day life, you have the internet where stop, please. Athena. Athena, I'm gonna turn your camera off. Stop. Anyway, you have the internet where if there's propaganda in your home country, you can see other people's points of view, and you can instantly be like, okay, this is not the only opinion. Whereas for Zuko, that very much was not the case. Every voice around him for the first would have been like 13 years of his life said the same thing. The Fire Nation is great and glorious, and we are doing this for the good of the world.
Nazi Germany before the war.
Yeah.
Well, actually, with what they did, it's Nazi Germany during the war. They literally exterminated the airbenders.
They did base it off of fascism, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could tack one more thing
this is a children's show.
onto what I was saying, because I'd kind of forgotten about it a little bit, along with the going against the grain, whatnot path, is like being able to, needing to go and confront Avatar's group to try to join them after attempting to capture/kill them multiple times. Like, imagine how terrible like that would feel. Like, I don't know, the mindset of I have to walk up to them and somehow convince them to like let me join them. It just seems so silly. Like, man, that's the right path apparently.
So
like, that's what's tough about it.
That episode
This is the right path.
Sokka said, You sent Combustion Man after us? That's not his name, but well, sorry, I didn't get your friend's name right. He's not my friend. Sorry,
I
sidetracked
like
a little.
Sparky
Okay, yeah.
Sparky Boom Man, but
I like Sparky Boom Man better as well. It's more fun. But yeah, I would
with that being
say.
said, that sums up pretty much the whole arc
Well,
of him.
did
Unless you guys
Ledge have
want-
any input?
Oh yeah, true. Ledge.
There's not a single word that has not been spoken of Zuko.
Actually, there is.
Hey, Steel.
Wait, what about the? I haven't thought about it. If it has resolve in it at all. What about
Steele
the Blue
wrote
Spirit stuff?
36 novels and listed them out for us.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me think.
I feel bullied. I was gonna
Definitely
say
fangirling over here.
there's definitely I like his redemption arc. It's so good. But I was going to say if anyone wants to talk about
Glitter.
this other than me, that's fine. But there's a moment where it does showcase a lack of resolve for him in the show.
What's that?
When he doesn't kill his father?
Mm-mm.
That's it. That's not a
No.
lack of resolve.
End of season 2.
Yes, where he makes the wrong choice. That was actually the pinnacle of it, the
Ooh.
downfall.
Cool. This moment that we all
Underground.
know and understand.
Yes, so we can just continue without even explaining it then. No, underground,
have you not
Ba Sing
watched
Se, Katara had talked to him for a long while, and it
Mhm.
seemed like he had kind of come around, and then there was a choice to make between attacking Azula and Avatar or whatever, and he did make the very
Avatar,
wrong
whatever.
choice to attack. Wait,
Avatar,
what?
whatever. Just the main
Avatar,
character of the
whatever.
series. You know,
Well, I
Avatar,
forgot
whatever.
if it was
Everything.
attacking Azula or Aang. I forgot if it was Azula, but either way, it was like I thought it
It was
was. So
Azula
he had the
because
choice
Azula
between
immediately, like,
attacking his sister
Zaps
or Aang.
Avatar.
So that was
He
No.
his
did make
choice.
the wrong choice.
Yeah, it was Azula, by the way, because immediately after that, Azula zapped Avatar, whatever.
So where are we thinking? Where are we thinking on?
On the
list.
list, I like B. Now, as to where, that's a tough one.
I would prefer if
You
we
prefer
were to do
C?
B. Well,
Oh.
no.
Sorry, I was
If I were,
predicting.
if we were to do B, I'd potentially be okay with that, but definitely I wouldn't say at the end of B, at the bottom of B.
Not at the back. Okay.
I don't think so.
So if
I
I'm not
think-
mistaken, Choji and Kirishima were really close. Like we had a tough time on that, but I think it was because Choji doesn't show resolve very much at
I
all.
feel like the
Right.
level of
So,
adversity.
Now that I'm recalling it, that is correct. And then we have Saratobi at number 1, Spider-Man last. So you are saying that it's more than Spider-Man, and this is not just Tom Holland at all.
I'm saying it's more than Spider-Man. I'm also probably saying it's more than
Okay.
Kirishima. I'll tell you, it's just due to the kind of level of adversity that Zuko had to go against to get to
Yeah,
where he
it is
was.
basically-
Shoji and Kirishima are both doing what is expected of them.
Yeah,
know,
it is basically all mental resolve.
executing it
I
well,
don't think it's any
but-
physical. Yes, he got injured, but that specific injury, it wasn't
he's
like
been
fought
injured more
through
than
it.
once.
It's not
He-
that at all.
he
So
also-
it is mental.
He also jumped in front of lightning bolt for
Oh,
Katara,
That's
which
true.
is resolve in and of itself.
So
Now he
SS
didn't have to fight after that, but I will say there's some physical resolve to that, not just
No,
mental.
I
and
like
emotional.
that. So you're
Um,
proposing second then?
Well, not necessarily. I haven't yet decided if I think there's
You
an
think?
argument to be made for ahead of Saratobi or not.
Physical resolve, he doesn't stand ahead of any of these. We got to look at mental resolve.
It is about mental and emotional mostly for him.
And that's what's tough because
Well, that's
that
the
butterfly
universe
fight
they're
was
in,
sick.
That's the
I'm
universe.
trying to
they're
be
in,
vague,
so
you
I-
know. But okay, was read that actually.
Athena.
Mhm.
Mark that.
Yeah, Athena.
He just smacked his desk like J. Jonah Jameson. I want pictures of Spider-Man.
But anyway, anyone else have input on it? Because I'm not decided yet either. But
I
I'd
would
like to
say
hear other
behind
people's-
Choji.
you
I'm
like
just
behind
thinking
Choji?
about
I'm
Killua.
okay with that as well. Now, it's weird.
I'm
But-
okay with behind the third Hokage, but I have to argue for ahead of Kirishima. I'm pretty
Tough
firm on
one.
ahead of
That's a tough
Kirishima.
one.
So with Kirishima, basically resolve is his thing. After that moment in middle school, when he did not have the resolve to face up against someone,
Yes.
and from there he had the resolve to face up against odds that were not logically beatable. he
Hiroshima's
did it to
mental
save people.
resolve is his weaker side.
However,
It's like they're kind of opposite.
well, one of the reasons we put him up there is because he has the resolve to face up villains to save other people.
It's true.
Now we have Zuko doing that to save Katara with a lightning bolt. We have
Don't we also have him doing it with Combustion Man when he's trying to convince the gang
yes,
that he can be trusted
he does swoop in to try to stop Combustion Man.
at
Um,
a very great risk to himself? Yeah.
Yes. We also see him facing ridiculous odds all the time. For instance, he tried to go against his own father, who immediately shot lightning at him. And honestly, resolve is his thing more than it is Hiroshima's, I think.
Right.
I would agree.
This
The
is
reason-
a tough one.
Yeah.
So for me, this is tough because in Avatar, there are very serious fights and moments. Some of the fights seem less serious if you look at the people next to him, like the Choji fight or
Right.
Kirishima fight as well. And then obviously with the Saratobi fight. So that's like, okay, the fight against Azula was very serious. The fight against his dad, which was very brief, was also serious. But
The fight against his dad was more
it is a kid's
emotional.
show. There's going to be less blood, gore, whatever. So there's also that aspect. His mental resolve is higher than at least Kirishima's. Choji's, it's a harder world, much harder. So it's kind of odd. The scaling is different.
Yeah.
And it is higher than Spider-Man's, or at least that Spider-Man's.
Well, because we've discussed it before, if Zuko has higher resolve than Kirishima, then he has higher resolve than Choji.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with
Well,
him
higher
where
mental
he is
resolve,
right
what I was
now.
talking about.
Well,
That's true.
I was just saying for placement in the list because
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight it. If I was going to place it just on my own thought, it'd probably be behind Choji, but I really don't care that much. Those are really close anyway already, so it's not that different.
you
I'm
heard it
not
here,
saying he
folks.
edges
Sage
them
does
out
not
by
care
very
about
much,
Choji.
but
Ledge and Athena.
I'm just
Ledge
ready to
already
move
said-
on.
Ledge already said he thought that
Okay.
Zuko should be behind Choji.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we're good then. I like
So
that.
are we just gonna leave him there and it's almost like a tie in our opinions?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right, we'll leave him there.
No,
Okay.
just no.
Nobody really has anyone
Stop bullying
anything to
me,
say about
Ledge.
this one. We'll just go ahead and place him and move on.
Okay,
T tier.
Nope, that's gonna be
Alright.
that's gonna be no. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna
putting him where he
start on
starts.
this. So we already placed Gon. I need you to place him above Gon.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, and then you guys can make arguments to move him down from there.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. I'll put him.
You guys can make arguments. You don't make the shots here, Athena.
Okay. This is tough.
So
Okay,
let me
listen,
ask
first,
Athena
I want to put something out there. Obviously, this is like one of my favorite characters of all time. That being said, I'll be listening to you guys' input because
She
you
does
guys
some
have a
kind
much
of final,
better.
like,
You guys have
general
a much better memory about literally anything. Like my memory is trash in comparison.
Right.
So when you guys mention things, even though I've seen this series through twice, maybe like 2.5 times, I may not remember the exact points you're bringing up. So
Okay.
I will
fair enough.
definitely take that.
Hopefully, when
input.
we talk
Um,
about it, it will trigger that memory.
There's gonna be exactly it will. There's gonna be two main elements I will focus on, or two main areas, I guess, and that is his childhood
Right.
and then the final season. To be completely honest.
Yes. And in fact, what's in the
Um,
picture? So yeah.
And
That's
what's
true.
in the picture is not the final season, but also it's
Oh,
definitely
I
greatest.
know what you're talking about. Sorry. yes.
Bubba boy.
But that'll be included too.
So,
So kind of three spots.
what was your question? Sage?
My question is, do you, without really talking it out right now, think he's eligible for SS?
I think he might be.
Okay, in my mind,
Because-
without talking it out at all, I think he's actually in the right spot there. I think he could definitely end where he is after we talk it out completely. I'm fine with anything, assuming we all like agree on it and whatnot.
Well,
That's
bother
just
talking
what
it
I'm
out.
thinking.
Just leave it
So
there.
I guess I'll go over like a
Yeah.
brief overview. Well,
Yeah, go
not
over your
brief,
initial
but an
thoughts.
overview. So he obviously grew up, raised to be an assassin, in the Zoldyck family, and he was tortured for his entire childhood. There was a meme I saw about, how Hisoka's thing is both a combination of rubber and gum. Well, his Godspeed is a combination of electricity and abuse. So, so he powered through, not only endured his years and years of childhood abuse and basically was like getting a back massage, getting whipped and electrocuted and everything. Like, he doesn't even have pain receptors at this point. He just basically powered through it. And not only did he power through it, he was able to break out of the family that held him hostage for his entire life and go after something that he actually wanted as a person, even though he was brainwashed to think as a member of that family for, I know it's only 12 years, but his entire life, right?
Yeah.
And to actually develop his own ideals and his own wants and his own goals after being tortured nonstop for his entire childhood it takes an incredible amount of personal strength and resolve to actually not just develop them, but to actually push away and break out and get away and run away from a Lumi every time.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say in relations to that, Athena, it's pretty interesting because in the show you actually have a built-in example of what Killua would be like had their training methods completely worked on him, had their brainwashing worked, and that is Illumi. He would just be like Illumi. And so that is pretty interesting because you can see right there all the differences. It just kind of
He just didn't
the
have the white
contrast is
hair,
very
the pure blood
obvious.
of Killua.
Okay, obviously not the
No,
appearance.
no.
Like,
I
he would have
know.
had
I
the
just
exact
like
same
mentioning that.
temperament. Illumi
So-
shows almost no emotions.
Yeah, I think the picture we chose, it was a good example of resolve. It was also a great example of his skill. But that was one of the
Yeah.
places where he was the closest to death, and his mental resolve and being able to think in the situation where he was literally about to die that saved his life was super impressive.
And that was a tough thought-out situation.
I guess the last season is obviously throughout the season or throughout the series, he shows an incredible amount of resolve to keeping the friends that he makes. Okay, Ledge, go ahead.
Well,
I'll
you
let
can finish what you're saying.
We can make a
Uh,
joke.
Like,
And then,
next in line.
well, mine's probably gonna end up being kind of long, so you can go ahead.
Make my joke.
So
Just make your jokes, Edge.
do it,
Say
but-
it.
no,
just noticed.
no,
No, it's a really good one.
don't say I noticed it first. I
No.
noticed it first.
I wanna make a joke
No,
today.
do not.
No,
All
I
right.
want to. Killua,
Mess
Lemillion,
it up.
and Metro all look the
Same pose.
They're on the same pose.
You know what they look like? Have you guys seen that meme with that
Hey, man,
guy
you're the only
dancing? He's
ones
like
on
doing
the
that.
list with that pose.
Hold on. Just
Yep, there we go. That's where he belongs, to
it's
be
the
honest.
same.
I think that's going to be a determining factor as to where he ends
It's the
up.
pose
I noticed
of-
it first. I
It's
had
a-
my hand up. What is wrong with these things?
It is the resolve pose, okay?
Yeah, I'd actually like to state the fact that they all deserve to be up there simply because of that pose. Like,
They do.
Right.
if you link that
Rockly's
directly
actually
to
in a
resolve,
somewhat similar pose as well.
Kakashi's the
100%
exact
agree.
opposite. What is he doing up
I
there?
don't know.
He's dead.
Your
He's not
head,
doing anything.
no, his head
Alright,
needs to be down.
Let's talk out all of Killua's stuff.
Well, can I
Oh, is he?
mention
Real?
Yes, go ahead.
I didn't mean to accidentally sort of spoil something for Athena. Forget you ever heard that.
Heard what?
Just keep watching. I'm sure you won't be heartbroken. So,
Right.
I do want to bring up a couple of cons for Killua's resolve because I feel we do need to address them. Well, we do need to consider both sides here.
Okay, what are the
The-
cons?
Do you want me
The
to
main-
finish the foundation?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll save it.
So,
Before the cons. Cheese bread
so
cheese.
I'll say his ongoing resolve primarily is to be a good friend to Gon and look after him throughout the series. And then toward the very last mini arc, the final season, is his resolve to not only save Gon, but to save his sister. And he was basically the only one who even made an effort to do so, and at whatever cost necessary. He didn't care. He was willing to sacrifice himself for his sister and for Gon, and he was, willing to pull his spleen out of his body or his spine out of his body to get to the. Will you, Jesus, Kyran? What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
It's just increasingly distracting.
What are you guys talking about?
For everybody who can't see the camera feeds, Kyran is playing like accordion with a stack of post-it notes.
They're lying.
So yeah.
They're not
No,
telling
he
the truth
is
at all.
repeatedly. It's really weird looking.
That's the most
And
false
Athena
thing
is
ever.
trying to struggle through.
All right.
Honestly,
continue.
you guys have no focus
Okay,
whatsoever. It's
so
ridiculous.
that's kind of, I guess, a basis for
I'm just gonna tape paper over Kyran's face on my
For-
monitor.
his character, and you can continue with your counterpoints. Steel.
Yeah, well, there is a giant asterisk next to these cons, which I will talk about. Kyran, that's even more distracting. Please stop. Okay, so giant asterisk. Just keep that in mind. The main con, I would say, is the length of time during the show that he does have certain areas where he wavers and kind of lacks resolve. Where he
Yep. Sorry.
That's
Continue.
the
continue.
asterisk. Let me address it in my own
I'd say
time.
it, though.
It was
I'd say
not his resolve.
Couldn't let you barrage him. Couldn't let you.
I tried to hold it in, I couldn't hold it in.
Sentence. Couldn't even get through my sentence before
Yelled in no
Athena
time at all.
just stop. Okay, let me finish. So there are moments
try.
where he runs away from fights,
Hi.
or
Sorry, I was mocking Athena.
What was that? Runs away? Huh?
where he runs away from fights, or refuses to engage in fights because he believes he doesn't have a very good chance of winning them. And obviously, that is kind of the opposite of resolve. Resolve does include,
It's not his role.
persevering. Let me finish against against odds that look unbeatable. Now, here's the asterisk, because we have to address all of this. We have to discuss it. The asterisk is that Killua actually has a giant pin embedded in his skull, courtesy of his brother Illumi, who is manipulating him in order to make him quit anytime he does not believe he will definitely win a fight. So, obviously, there are influences at play there, and it cannot be counted as solely his own resolve dictating those actions.
Exactly.
So,
On a similar note,
So he
what
has
you're
no
saying
power.
It
is,
would look like we
he
weren't
said-
covering
Fine,
it
so
thoroughly if
that's
we didn't
my
talk
He
about
fault.
ran
it.
away from some fights, but now hear me out. He never actually did. It was his brother.
That was literally
So-
all four of you talking at the exact same time.
Wait,
and
wait,
none
wait.
of that came through.
Say that again, Athena?
Said, you're saying that he wavered on his resolve by running away from fights, but now hear me out. Absolutely none of it was Killua. It was just his brother with a mind control pin in him. So none of it is actually relevant to Killua's resolve. That's
Well,
what I'm hearing.
If his willpower had been strong enough to begin with, don't you think he could
Okay,
have
his
overcome
willpower was strong enough to overcome a lot more already, to get away from the house, to take off on his own adventure regardless.
that? To be fair, I'm okay with having
Steel, you're
Killua placed
talking-
very highly. I'm
No, no,
playing a
you're
bit
fine.
of devil's advocate.
Say,
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Steel, you're
Dare,
okay. Now I
dare
lost
talking about
my-
my son like that
lost
again.
my train of thought because you guys just constantly
Nobody's gonna talk about her calling Killua her son when I
You're
got
talking
roasted
about
to
him
hell and back.
having
No,
the
we're
all my
talking
willpower
dad.
to remove
Uh,
the needle.
Calling someone your
He
son is
did-
not as weird as calling someone your daddy.
All right.
Let's just talk,
Okay,
guys.
let Leadge start over because that
He
was.
has son
It's
issues.
extremely easy to remove the needle. He didn't know it was there. What are you talking about, willpower?
She's talking about somehow overcoming the needle's influence.
Yeah, there has to be a limit to
He
it, is
didn't-
what I'm saying.
Okay.
No,
didn't know
when
the
he
influence
started
was
to
there.
remove
Why
the
would he
needle,
fight against it?
there was a lot of resistance when he started to remove the needle,
Pain
wasn't there?
and resistance. True.
It had a lot of nin built into it.
Yeah. So it
But,
wasn't
like-
easy. I mean, it looked
not
easy
saying
because
it
it was
Figure
killer.
out, it was
No,
there.
I'm telling Ledge that it
All
wasn't
the
easy.
characters on our list did not have easy tasks.
No, Ledge said it was easy to remove it. I was verifying.
Okay.
Athena, you can't kill me from here. You're in Korea. It's fine.
Godspeed can kill you from here.
Such a cool scene. We'll never
Just
die.
accidentally
Anyway,
doxed Athena.
Yeah, you
as
kinda
far
did.
as
I mean, it's a whole
Roughly
nation,
the speed
but
of a motorcycle.
You can
Okay.
blame
Yeah. Well,
it.
I'm sure they're gonna pinpoint me in this country.
Okay, now real quick,
Plot twist, it's North Korea.
it's funny talking about his mental and physical resolve, having just talked about Zuko, because they are so much higher. It's just like on a different scale completely. But if you look at physical resolve, if we start out low, we have the actual, obviously the torture, but him using lightning as an ability, and it doesn't really hurt him anymore. But we have that, and then the actual moment in the picture, which is insane because, like Athena was saying, not only being able to withstand it, but to be able to think through that situation and to this crazy math and medical information, like to be able to use that to
Yeah.
know where the last one was going to go exactly when and
It's-
everything.
And somehow
to
in his
grab it.
childhood, he learned how to play cricket.
I mean, it it materializes as it hits him, so he
Wait,
had to
wasn't that
grab it
darts?
as it hit him, which is
Yeah.
just
It
insane. Yeah,
was
darts.
cricket is a darts game. Like
Yeah, it's how you
it's
play
the
it.
game
Like,
Oh,
of
okay. I
point-
was thinking
It's how-
cricket, like
not the sport.
Yeah.
Not the sport. Yeah. So it was the game, and he was adding up all the points that you need to
Yeah.
win cricket. So he knew the exact spot that the next dart had to hit for them to win.
And that was insane because he got hit in a bunch of places that would normally be lethal to a normal human. Obviously, the head would have been lethal to even him, but like with the stomach and the chest and everywhere. That was a lot. Like if I'm trying to compare that,
After the first pin in him, he wasn't gonna let another one in his head.
Just
Yeah.
pointing something out real quick, by the way.
did you guys say the sound of crickets?
Look at
okay. If we look at similarities, I'm trying to look at somebody who has a similar pain situation. Deku overall does. I don't know about at one moment was quite that bad. Might Guy with his body deteriorating. That's it's hard to
I don't know.
judge.
The fight
obviously.
against Muscular might have been a comparable moment for Deku.
Yeah, so that probably is close. Obviously, it's a different type of pain being stabbed, but it is like
It
a
is different.
huge threshold. And then with mental resolve,
Might Guy also
try to be vague on it. Sorry, I had forgotten.
would have
That's actually why I
had
pointed out.
a heavy pain amount. Maybe even more than Killua for Might Guy.
I think definitely more.
Just on a
It's funny with,
physical level. Obviously,
never
we don't want to
mind.
discuss that in too much
Were you
detail.
about to
Being
spoil it?
Super vague, Kakashi. Anyway,
Oh.
so
Yeah.
I don't
anyway,
get it.
it's fine. Move on.
Tsukuyomi.
Now
Yeah, that's correct. Go on.
with placement. Unless you guys had others to talk about building up.
I would like
profile.
to just
Yeah.
make one
Yeah, go ahead.
more point. So a lot of his resolve is placed in the level at which he cares for his friend and his family. I'm gonna say like just Gon and Aluka, right?
Mhm.
So at the end of the series, he told Aluka to get rid of what was
Monica?
Nanika, right? And obviously
someone.
she was or someone. So obviously Aluka was extremely distraught at that demand from him,
Yeah.
and he cares so much about his sister's well-being that he was willing to basically make a deal and allow Nanika to still coexist with her just so that his sister was like complete and happy in her life. Even though the risk there was extremely high, he was obviously able to get around it because she cares about him so much that she follows his orders inherently. So
That's incredibly
he was able
powerful, though.
he was able
Yeah.
to accept that risk. Basically, I mean,
That arc was
essentially a
something.
risk to the entire like all of mankind, just so that
Right.
his sister can live a complete, like a whole and a happy life.
Yeah.
So I think honestly that little arc increases his resolve a lot.
Yeah.
I feel you're right. He
Even
also
though
went up against Illumi directly a couple of times for her, which does take a lot of resolve. As we've seen, Illumi evokes a lot of trauma responses in Killua. He's terrified of him, as he probably should be. And yeah, anytime he stands up to him, that's a huge feat of resolve.
I mean, aside from the trauma part, I can't imagine trying to go up against my brother. Like, he's a lot stronger than me. That'd be terrifying.
Yeah, and that's the same. Illumi is, at this point, stronger than Killua. Killua's only
Not as
just started
fast,
to learn
though.
how to use Nen.
Okay.
But
Doubt.
I'm gonna go ahead and circle it to talking it out because here's what I'm thinking. Do we all agree he's higher than Gon? I personally do.
I mean, he's pretty
do.
short.
But you know my opinions on that. I don't think Gon needs to be that high. I think his
Yeah,
resolve is
we
emotion
know, we
based.
know. But
I'm okay with Killua being above Gon. I
and
don't have
obviously
any
Athena
real
too.
argument against it.
Okay. Now the question is, we have two questions. One, obviously SS or S, and two, does he pass Lemillion, and or is he close enough to Lemillion to be in SS? That's the question. What do you guys think?
I can't answer the second question, but I think he should be an SS.
Oh,
mainly because
yeah,
I
we'll
like
try to
him,
talk
but
vague
also
about Lemillion as well.
mainly because hello, they look great together. Got 3 of them. They have to be.
That is very true.
We're
He
not
has to be
making
up
this
there.
decision out of a sense of aesthetic. Come on.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
Okay,
So
let
his-
me. Yeah, go ahead, Kyran.
So his physical resolve is obviously really high.
Middle of my sentence interrupt to the beginning of yours.
Huh?
What? Go
But I
ahead.
don't think that his mental resolve, it's strong, but I don't think it's as ingrained a part of him as it was for Lemillion. Now, a lot of it was Illumi's pin for him to stay alive and be safe. But there are times we see where like he has difficulty with Gon. Like the resolve of like not staying as a friend, but like wanting the same things or going the same way as Gon, and it's not
in
always
some
related
ways,
to
it's a
safety.
hard
But
person to
hi-
stay friends with.
Well, it
His
is.
resolve was geared toward protecting more than it was for like advocating Gon's wants. His resolve put Gon's well-being above his
It's desires.
desires. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair, but it had to like get to that point. It wasn't there for a
I-
long time.
Okay.
Not a long time, but I mean, like when he first met Gon, it wasn't there. Of course, you wouldn't expect it to be, but I don't think his resolve was that high before he met Gon. So for the majority of his
Okay.
life, his
Right,
physical
but then
resolve,
Gon was like, "You're
to
my
survive
friend,"
through
and
things.
Killua was like, "I've never felt emotion before."
Yeah,
This is
no, I'm
amazing."
not disagreeing with that. Obviously, he's up in the S and
Aw.
SS. Obviously, he's up in S and SS because his resolve is high
So sad.
Yeah.
in the series. I'm not
So
done.
I will make a gentle case
I just
against
said
him.
I just said I wasn't done.
Sorry.
I just had him to finish. So the reason
Make
that
sure
I
you're done
don't think.
first.
Say what?
I said just make sure you're done first, and then I'll start.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So basically, what I was saying is, I don't think because it was only in like his last year of his life or whatever. I don't think he is where Lemillion is because I think Lemillion's was like throughout his entire
Right.
life
Okay.
and ingrained as
Um,
part of his soul.
Okay, so I will make a gentle case against him going above Lemillion, and to keep things kind of vague so as not to spoil anything for Athena. It is mostly based upon his ability or lack thereof to keep going without any kind of like
Hesitation.
reset or no wait not exactly that direction. Okay, so
Okay.
Lemillion has the ability after a tragic event of some kind to move on and deal with that very quickly and compartmentalize that and not let that shake his resolve even for a certain amount of time. The specific example I'm thinking of where Killua kind of struggles with that, and he's young, I'm not judging him for this, but
He's 12.
it would be during the Chimera Ant arc when they had to leave Kite behind, and Killua there was a period of self-doubt that happened, and he did obviously ultimately bounce back from that, but it just kind of showcases that there is that slight difference between them. Lemillion has had more time and more experience to build up that kind of bulletproof resolve and be able to just bounce back with a smile on his face. Killua obviously is still dealing with trauma and still, unlearning certain behaviors that were brainwashed into him growing up. So I don't think it's a bad reflection on Killua, but I would say that he's below Lemillion by a small margin. And
Right.
I'm not sure whether that puts him in S or in bottom of SS. I
Okay.
would be okay with either.
My thought on it, and I actually have 2 points. I can't think of the second one at the moment. The one thing
Then you
about
have one
the
point.
kite situation, he did still have the needle in his head. Is the one thing, because he got it removed during the remission while he was in the village fighting the hands guy.
I'm not talking about any fighting situations.
No,
though,
I
with
know.
that.
Although, and that was
That's what
also
that
the
was
right
for.
choice to do. So it wasn't the wrong choice.
No, yeah, I'm not digging
ignoring
him for
resolve and
that.
everything, and it's fine. Like you pointing that out is, that is something. But my second point was, in my mind, if you look at the people, and I'll just say the names. I'm not going to mention anything they've done because a lot of the people in S, Athena hasn't seen. But with Might Guy, Kakashi, Neji, All Might, you look at like how all their accomplishments and whatnot when it comes to resolve are insane. Like S is really a stacked category. SS is more of the people that are so focused around resolve, it's insane. Whereas
Extremely.
Killua has multiple focuses, including very high resolve. I think top of S, but
I'm okay with
that's
that
just
as
me.
well.
The reason
I
is,
also
you're comparing them to these people in SS is insanely. It's like
I
crazy.
didn't think of this before, but this is one thing I can say without any spoilers, right? So I'll pose this question to the entire podcast, right? If in a hypothetical situation, Killua was facing a really strong enemy who had extreme Nen mastery, and all of a sudden, Killua had no Nen abilities, could not use Nen at all. Do you think that there would be some hesitation? I'm talking about without the needle. Do you think there would be even a second of hesitation, or do you think that he would continue without having to, reassess?
I think I know what would happen, and it's not really an insult to him. As soon as he realizes he didn't have an in, I think he would run. I think he still has speed regardless without it. Not so much running away, but he would obviously realize he can't really win whatever the fight is, whatever the situation is. So if you continue to fight without Nin, it's night and day. Like there's nothing you can do against a Nin user, so you're just going to die. But is it hesitation? It wouldn't be any hesitation from him running, and we see this in the Phantom Troop arc with them running away from the Phantom Troop as soon as like he even flinched towards him. It was just instant. There was no hesitation.
I mean, they
Instantly
should
trying
have.
to run away.
Yeah,
And that was the plan, I know, but I do still like that moment.
that was the
So-
correct thing to do.
So I think that's how it would go. I mean,
Yeah,
if there was someone to save, it might be different. But
Well, yeah, that's true. If you want to make the comparisons equal, imagine there was someone to save, not necessarily one of his friends, but somebody to save.
that's tough. I don't know. I think he'd try to save him, but try to almost escape with him.
But
I mean, he's still
his
fast about
resolve
that.
is mostly limited
What
to
I think
a pretty narrow group of people he cares for, so that might make a difference.
what he would do is knock out the person he's trying to save and grab him and go.
Because we've seen that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was almost the
Wow.
same thing. It's like him not
Literally
having
what
Nen
you're
in that
discussing.
situation.
So that's probably where is that where we're gonna leave him?
Well,
Well, I just wanna
Sage
go
is
around and
arguing
ask
for top
everybody.
of S tier.
I feel confident at bottom of SS, and this is why. Obviously, I'm not intricately familiar with a lot of the ones in SS tier. That being said, with Netero, right, he has that extremely long training period of
60.
just doing like a ton of punches a day, right?
10,000, I think.
I
Right.
think
It's
he
like
kicks.
10,000 punches a day and kicks and whatever, right? And that was a large percentage of his life, say
Yeah.
60% of his
60
life
years,
or
yeah.
something, right? And you have to think of Killua basically resisting 97% of his life. Okay, not 97, probably like 85% of his life being tortured and still keeping his sanity and
Yeah.
keeping his mind and changing his ideals based on, you know, his commitment to get out of what he went through and being brainwashed for the vast majority of his life.
Right.
And you see this progress in him over the, I would say, 18 months to 2 years that the entire series takes place over
Yeah.
in a very small amount of time. So if you gave him the 60 years that Netero had, what would you see? And I know that's a hypothetical,
Yeah.
but I think you can at least say that it would continue to progress at a high rate, or I would at least. And I'd say he's somewhat close to, if you consider the hypothetical, somewhat close to Netero.
Right. That's actually kind of funny to think about because with Killua being tortured all the way up until he escaped, you got to think that's all he knows. Like he doesn't know anything else. He's been tortured his whole life, so it's kind of odd. Like even being able to escape from that, like you're not going back to something you used to know. Like you didn't used to know freedom. You didn't used to know friendship. You're literally just escaping it and going off to do your own thing, even though you've been tortured the entire time. Like it's crazy.
I wouldn't be upset with either option, bottom of SS or top of S. I'd be okay with either of those. What
I
is
would
everybody
vote
else's
top of
thoughts?
S.
And Sage votes top of S. Kyran, what is your thought?
Sage, did you have a different opinion?
Well, what I'm looking at now is I see a gap between him and Gon and a gap between him and the next person. So the question is, we're just riding the fence line of like which category to put him in, which is a bigger deal, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of if I'd be okay with bottom of SS because it's okay to have a spectrum, like they are in order. If they weren't in order and it was just all these people, especially like the top three, whatnot, it's not on the same spectrum. But then you look at some of like the people at the bottom of S. You know, I think he's higher than All Might, or well, sorry, I realize now she's watching it, but you know, higher than Tony Stark, obviously, and stuff like that. So
I think when I think about it, I would say top of S. I don't think he's done or shown quite enough to be in SS.
yeah, I think my main thing is that his gap between him and Gon is smaller than his gap between him and Lemillion. But with Netero, like you were saying, it's odd, and you know they're all different characters, so they do different stuff. With Netero, it's an odd kind of resolve. So he's actually closer to Netero, farther from Lemillion, but somehow you guys convinced Netero to be ahead of Lemillion. I'm just kidding.
We discussed that. We're not going back over that.
I don't remember how that happened. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I remember, and it
we'll
was a
move on.
lot.
We'll move on. I remember. I know. Yes.
We already have enough characters. We don't have to cover them twice. So 3 of us have voted for top of S then?
Athena, do you still disagree with it? I mean, I know you want him to be in bottom of SS, but are you like...
I can't make good
Just get her
counterpoints
vote.
because I'm not familiar with the other characters, so
Okay.
I
mean,
literally have
that
a
is
losing
fair.
battle here.
It's
Well,
harder
when you...
for her to
Okay,
argue
actually,
that.
this is great, because when you do finish a certain series, you'll be able to know.
Yeah, it
Well,
is
you'll
towards
be
the
able
end
to
of
make your own
what's
conclusion.
currently available in that series.
So we're settling with him there?
I believe so. I mean, there's 5 of us on
Yeah,
the pod,
let's
and
settle
3
there and
voted.
probably
I mean,
close
it's
it
still
out.
top of a category, which is good, because Gon... like,
And
somebody
there's
should
some
have Gon, I think.
insane. You haven't watched all of Naruto, so 3 of these characters, you don't really
Yeah.
understand just how
And
insane their
to
resolve is.
To our 3 viewers, we're sorry we lied to you. This
It
is not
was
a
a
short
long
video.
No.
How long was it?
Hold on.
58 minutes.
No.
How?
For
Yeah.
2 characters? How did we
Yeah.
do that?
Well, you see, Steel
Zuko was like
wrote
5 minutes.
13 novels on Zuko. It's like,
And then
"Alright, let me go
Athena
over Zuko
wrote
real
17
quick." And then
novels
if
on
Kyran
Killua.
wrote out captions of what Steel said and like just kept adding them, the letters would get so small and packed in there.
Imagine if you're supposed to do the next one.
Yeah. I think we should just leave it here, guys.
like
Thanks
that.
for watching.
should.
Stay
Thank
sexy
you for
and don't
anyone
get
who made
murdered.
it to this point.
if you guys have any differences in
Stay sexy
opinion,
and don't get murdered. We're gonna get a copyright claim. Don't do this.
if you guys have any differences of opinion, take it up with Steel and Athena. If you have
From
any
who?
video
Our three
ideas,
viewers?
if you have any podcast ideas that you want us to discuss, feel free to put them in the comments. But as always, thank you for watching if you made it to this point, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.